But first up, folks, I won't hold my breath, but I imagine there's going to be a lot of apologies from the corporate media, those right-wing blowhards. Really, the totality of the establishment in this country, I imagine pretty soon they're going to apologize to Janine Garofalo, who was one of the first people I ever heard who said that Curveball was full of shite. You all remember Curveball. He was supposedly one of the premier sources of intelligence. And I use that in air quotes. I'm not actually doing air quotes, but I'm trying to imply them with my voice. The intelligence that led us into a war of choice that ended up killing over, in very conservative estimates, over 100,000 innocent civilians in Iraq. And precipitated a 9-10-year involvement there, leaving behind one of the world's largest embassies, millions of refugees, both those who exiled the country and became refugees within the country. And of course, I haven't seen this on U.S. corporate media because they're too busy talking about the amazing appearance of Sarah Palin on the Today Show as a guest host. The earth-shattering news that morning broadcast media is essentially just an extension of their promotional department. And more proof that you can be an utter failure at your job. You can be a total idiot. And by total idiot, I'm not saying that without sympathy for Sarah Palin. Because John McCain also deserves, if not as much, then more responsibility for nearly putting this person in a position of being the Vice President of the United States, perhaps even the President of the United States. So she's on the Today Show, sucking up all the oxygen. Meanwhile, the UK Independent reports that on Sunday, because it was in a BBC Two documentary, Rafid Ahmed Alwan al-Janabi, and we knew that the Curveball was a suspect or a suspicious source of intelligence, but now the guy's coming right out and saying it. He fabricated through whole cloth, apparently, claims about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction and smiles as he confirms how he made the whole thing up. My main purpose was to topple the tyrant in Iraq because the longer this dictator remains in power, the more Iraqi people will suffer from this regime's oppression. Maybe he hasn't checked the news lately, but I don't know that he was responsible per se because he had been completely written off by the CIA, completely written off by the Defense Department, completely written off by administration officials under the Clinton administration. But he was a perfect coat rack to hang the lies that the Bush administration wanted to foist on the American public with their handmaidens in the corporate media. He claimed to have overseen the building of a mobile biological laboratory when he sought political asylum in Germany in 1999. That's when he was first considered to be a joke. His lies were presented, quote, as facts and conclusions based on solid intelligence by Colin Powell, U.S. Secretary of State, when making the case for war at the UN Security Council in February 2003. Remember his little container of talcum powder that if it broke, Everyone sitting at the Security Council meeting in the UN would suddenly have all their athlete's foot disappear. Janabi says none of it was true. When it's put to him, quote, "We went to war in Iraq on a lie, and that lie was your lie," he simply replies, "Yes." U.S. officials sexed up Mr. Janabi's drawings of mobile biological weapons labs to make them more presentable. This is from Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, General Powell's former chief of staff, who has been on a 4 or 5 year redemption tour. I brought the White House team in to do the graphics, he says, adding how intelligence was being worked to fit around the policy. As for his former boss, quote, "I don't see any way on earth that Secretary Powell doesn't feel almost a rage about Curveball and the way was used in regards to that intelligence." Almost a rage? Colin Powell was so easily duped? No, he was being a team player. And he and Wilkerson, there's simply not enough redemption in the world for them, nor is there for their bosses. So it's just one more nail in the coffin. Of course, you know, this is ancient history now. This happened almost 12 years ago. So it's really, there's no point in discussing it. And yet we can celebrate the fact that the official figures in March, according to the AP, showed that 112 people were killed by violence in Iraq. So congratulations, Iraq. That is the lowest monthly death toll for Iraqis since our tax dollars funded an illegal war, an invasion of your country, and killed, by the most conservative estimates put out by our own government, at least 100,000 innocent civilians. Only 357 of you were wounded last month, and the total death toll included 78 civilians, 22 policemen, and 12 soldiers. So that beats the other record of how many people died in Iraq since 2003, in November 2009, when only 122 died. So congratulations, Iraq.
High on a hill was a lonely goat herd, lay, hoodlay, hoodloo.
Hope you had fun.
Loud was the voice of the lonely goat herd, lay, hoodlay, hoodloo. Ho, ho.
Of course, we're still up to it in Afghanistan. But we didn't need any fake intelligence, apparently, there to occupy that country for 12 years in another seemingly never-ending expression of war.